Hey teachers, welcome back to the channel. This is a tech review video because my university, the IT department, kind of just sent out an email announcing that, we all have access to Microsoft CoPilot chat, and really kind of emphasizing, pushing that that should be the tool that, they want us to use across campus. And so I have been hopping in. This video is kind of my initial reactions and reviews to what it can do, what it looks like it probably can't do very well, and how I have tested it out with some of the stuff workflow that I really want. And so in terms of what sort of my Office of Information Technology is sort of, saying, hey, cool, it can assist in managing administrative tasks or preparing course materials, facilitating communication with students. It can also help, with research. All of that sounds great. Of course, here at Teacher's Pet, that we want to help with your steps in your course prep and work towards those, kind of semi-automated, very intelligent tools kind of built for you. And so as an educator, right, I have a 4-4 contract at this R2 university. I'm always looking for tools that can help me create more quantity of higher quality learning and teaching support. So I hopped right in to kind of check out what it could do. I will say that, my university is hosting kind of a long, pretty lengthy sort of training and info session that I will definitely be going to, and I'll update y'all with, additional news and tips and tools as I learn about them, as your university or school might also be rolling out these similar features. But for now, this is kind of my first impressions, and I just want to show you what kind of it really looks like as I've been trying to do some of the course prep materials. So let's hop right into it. All right, so this is basically the page that I was taken to after logging in through my university credentials and information. And I mean, it's just a chat, right? CoPilot is just ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the chats. If your school uses Boodlebox, then right, it's just that interface connecting all of the models together. So this is really no different than any of those, kinds of things and tips and information. And so, right, we can upload sort of content, so that could be helpful. They have some of these pre things in here: sharpen your writing, improve writing, obviously a lot of those. Highlighting differences might be helpful or interesting. Maybe preparing daily news briefs, all of that could be definitely helpful. So if, right, again, in my course prep, something that I like to do often, and right now I've been using Google Gemini primarily to do it, is to create things like, maybe quiz questions, right, or a study guide. So what if we actually say, okay, create So it is really fast. This one is actually probably the fastest, zoomiest model that I've worked with. Like Gemini would definitely have taken quite a few more seconds to load that. So that part's really exciting. So, this basic chat, it does what all of the chats do. I think, if you've never used any of these, kind of intelligent products before, starting with quiz questions is a great way to go about it. And I just always make sure to, prompt them, think about your campsite, set up a context, specific audience, be really detailed in the elements of the message that you want and the product. But with that basic chat, it does it fine, right? I got scenarios, I got questions, and I would be able to pull these, edit, expand, upload, and create a really nice bank of quick pop quiz questions for a class, or, a quiz bank if I wanted to run something through Canvas. So boom, CoPilot, great for that. Kind of what I expected, because it's ultimately just, a chat. They do have a few of these suggestions, which are kind of nice. So, what if we do make it true or false instead? This one takes a little, still so fast. Oh my gosh. Right, and then it instantly converted it. So like that, absolutely love it. Saves me tons of time in my course prep. And more importantly, right, saving time here then allows me to do more interesting, helpful pedagogical approaches like quiz bank, so students can retake the quizzes multiple times and get thrown new questions. Or before, when I had to come up with all of these questions every time on my own, I would basically just, it was too much to try to think of that many questions to have effective quiz banks. And so all of that sounds good. And it looks like we can edit in Pages, which is kind of cool. So I can edit any of the elements right here, which is pretty nice. But then I noticed this like share only allows me to share like links to the page or embed and provide access to this page and other stuff. So I don't really see where I would use that sharing feature necessarily. Though for something like this, I would just be, copying these then directly into Canvas and building the quiz through Canvas there. So that part of it, worked really well, and I really like that. Let's try uploading a file though. So what if we grab one of my projects and assignment sheets about like a progress report. Okay, and maybe I could ask it to create a template. That's another thing that I have used Google Gemini for quite a bit, is giving it assignments and then, having it sort of analyze and start to come up with like an outline, a template, some like kind of step-by-step support that I think students might need help with. And it just saves me a little bit of time. So there's that template, intro, performance analysis, goal setting, action plan. Those are the correct headings from the assignment. I definitely have to do a lot of work to clean up this template. And so I do feel like my Gemini does a little bit better with that, since I do use Pro with a little bit more of the deeper, complex task models. But, this is still a great start. It would be absolutely still something helpful, supplemental that I could give to students and link on the assignment sheet. So that way, they could have kind of a checklist of what to write about, what to talk about. The project guide is literally just regurgitating what my assignment looked like and what my assignment sheet was. So that is really not doing anything that helpful at all. Just for that reference, here is what my assignment sheet itself looked like. So we got the scope, and then you see I already have headings breaking down. Hey, here's what I'm asking you to do. Here's your audience you're writing to. Here's all the elements of the message that you need. Here's the exact product that you're creating. Requirements, like, it's an assignment sheet, and it's basically just reordered the assignment sheet. So I wouldn't necessarily use this as something helpful for my content, but I might be able to reprompt and play around with it a little bit. That could be good. Another thing I like to do, and I like to use my chatbots for, so let's see how it performs, is okay, cool. Yeah, and this is another thing that definitely helps with my Canvas page. I do have FAQs right for every project, and how I created all of them for every assignment is exactly by using the chats and in just kind of skimming through, it's appropriate answers that I could go in and obviously expand, revise. But I think that these are pretty decent, FAQs for sure. So the main chat part, just like all chat parts, you can enter the same similar prompts, get the same similar kind of results. All of that absolutely makes sense, and probably I might consider moving from Gemini into Microsoft for those types of tasks, since my university is asking, and it basically does the same thing, which is totally fine. Now they have the option to create agents over here that are supposed to be able to do like more specific tasks. And so when we go into the create an agent, you do have the option to do this descriptive where it'll be like, hey, you know, what is it that you want to build? And then they also have a lot of templates. And basically these agents are kind of like pre-instructed chats, so you can kind of save a little bit of the prompting. And these are all pretty like basic ones. Now you can describe and type it in, but in testing, I realized that the describe element is just going through all the boxes of the configure. So you might as well just pop over to configure and do the name, description, instructions instead. So instead of dealing with the back and forth chat, that just takes so much longer and it's not actually adding that much more. So we see here, okay, details, name, description, instructions, web search, potential starter prompts. If I go into describe and I say, okay, I agent to build FAQ lists for every assignment sheet that upload and prompt to give. Again, instead of having the chat, it'd be nice if I had this little pre-trained model that I just know, cool, every time, or not model, pre-trained agent that I just know will give me kind of that FAQ. But now it's saying, okay, what about the name? Okay, well, was what we saw in the configure settings. Be like, sure. But now I'm just wasting time, right? Chatting instead of typing it in. So the next thing, right, is probably going to where I'd ask about some of those kind of instructions, configuration. So yeah, refine the agent's behavior. What are those actions? And again, it's like, I just told you kind of what the actions are. So you can type it into here or you can type it into here. But note that, right, there's already a lot of instructions that it's already created. And so using this, I think is a little bit faster. So we'll just say, make sure that, each. Okay, publicly accessible websites. Again, that is just this toggle. In this case, I'd probably say like, no, don't want that. And for most of our classes, we probably don't want to turn on the web search. I know for my classes, I want things to be limited and contained to the materials that I am uploading and I'm working with, because for me, right, accuracy is the most important thing that I'm looking for. And anytime we open the models up to the web search, right, it's just going to start pulling in these kind of unknown, basically probabilities of like content that it's going to give it. And I want to, right, limit kind of that pool of potential data as much as possible to increase kind of the accuracy and just reduce inaccurate outputs. So then there's like starter prompts. What should I do if I don't understand the assignment instructions? Like, sure, right? So we might want to take some time to update some of that. And it looks like you can only add 6 starter prompts, so I'd have to go in and update and edit that, but that'd be okay. So then if we do create, okay, and it gives me a link, but it's saying, okay, the link only works for you, which obviously would be not that helpful if I was trying to do something for my students. But in this case, I use these much more for my own course prep, so totally fine. However, you can update the share settings to be a little bit more expansive. So if you maybe built a bot that or an agent that is student facing, this would be how to do it. But for mine, like going to me is totally fine because I'm using this for course prep. So then in my FAQ builder bot sense, right, we said, hey, you should be able to build this FAQ with all those steps. Let's go ahead and just add another assignment sheet. What if we do the usability report? Okay. Okay, and great, right? it's doing a really, really thorough and in-depth like FAQ, which I think is great. So this bot, I would definitely say, or this agent, definitely helpful. Absolutely, I could see using Microsoft CoPilot for those kind of straightforward prompts. And obviously, we'd want to read through and make sure it's correct, but like eyeballing it, like, yes, I do think it is pulling accurate information. And it does have these little like citations, list key points. With, I guess, these bonus prompts that somebody could ask, but now it's just sort of reattaching my assignment sheet. So I'm not sure necessarily how helpful that aspect would be, or like why I would be using that. Right? And like department marketing, sales, like I don't understand what these are from this prompt gallery. Maybe this is something that they're going to try to build out. And perhaps, right, I could see if maybe my campus and my IT department built out, right, very faculty educator focused prompts, that could be helpful. But for now, it just feels this is something you can use, but not necessarily something made for us. But I do like that. So FAQs, fantastic way to get quick content. Now, I had actually played with a few other assistant features before starting to record. So one of the things I did was this course assistant, and a few things that are super annoying that I've noticed. So once it's built, I don't have a way to edit my agent, or at least not that I found so far. And after I go to like training, I can maybe update you, but first initial impressions, I have new chat, I have like data protection, cool, recent pages, which, okay, there's like my true false quiz. I tried to write some rubric stuff, we'll show you. I have about settings, you would think, but it's like something about external access. Like there's no way for me to go back and adjust or fix my agent. So once you have something created, even our FAQ builder, if I wanted to update it, like how? I literally can't. I'd have to start over by creating a brand new agent. So right away, that is something that's going to hinder my workflow, and instead of helping me do my job like more productively and quickly and like happier, I would be really annoyed at having to like restart if I ever wanted to adjust something. So that's annoying number one. Now, the annoying thing number two is I had asked this course assistant, or I had wanted this to be, right, something to help communicate, right, with students, like my IT department had sort of mentioned in their pitch. But I am not able, and as we saw when we were doing the FAQ builder, there's not a way to upload my documents to direct and train the agent. So it has basically no knowledge. So as a course assistant, if I'm a student, I'm like, when are office hours for this class? It's not going to know because I haven't uploaded anything. And yeah, they're like, please let me know the specific course and instructor's name. Okay, we'll play along. I don't know how it's going to find that info because it has nothing that it's drawing from, but it's right? So it says I can help you with it. I need to check the office hours. Can you please provide me with the syllabus or other documents, right? So if my students already have the syllabus for my class, what use is this like bot truly? Like if they have to go download the syllabus again and like upload it here, they should just be able to find my office hour information in Canvas, or just like read the syllabus itself. Now, I absolutely recognize that like there's still some use value in that they just don't want to read the full syllabus, and so maybe they do just want to like upload it here, but it just feels very like counterproductive, and a little bit just like clearly this is not built with what actual like classes and workflows and like students and professors go through, in my opinion, or like it's not something I would actually use, because it just doesn't make sense to me why they are requiring, right, my students upload the syllabus to get answers to the questions. I feel like I should be able to have trained my agent on the syllabus already so it can just answer the questions as my students are asking. But yeah, I mean, as with basically all of these models, if you give it something specific to go through and like pull data out of, like pull keywords and, kind of predict based on something very, very specific, they're quite good at that. They can, go through and predict, okay, if it's headings about things like office hours, like scheduling, and just kind of pull that. So yeah, it is really good at that, but I just don't see a huge point about it. Same if I'm like, all right, it should be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Ooh, although it does have access to the syllabus. So since I did upload the syllabus once, it does have that key information. So that is good. So potentially if you are using this for your class, is you would just have to make sure to tell your students to upload the syllabus when they start chatting. So that way it can answer questions. And I just feel like what really is the use value here? I'm not fully seeing it. The next thing that I had tried to make it do was an agent for a rubric creator, again, in all the instructions and descriptions, and I tried to be pretty detailed. Right? I told it, okay, when I upload assignments, I want you to make a rubric for me, and it did a really, really bad job at that. Here's kind of the past ones. Okay, here we go. So when I very first asked it after building it, my instructions were, I'm going to upload a file, you make a rubric. So I just uploaded the file without any prompt, and I got very confused. And you can see it's just summarizing my project sheet back to me, which again, not really that helpful. I know the project sheet's in front of me. You don't need to summarize it back. So then I told it, you were instructed to create and built to create rubrics. Why didn't you do that? Okay, reprompting, and it really didn't make a rubric either again this time, right? It's sort of a list again of re-summarizing the content back to me, and then these are just things that are just listed in the assignment sheet, right? It's not a rubric for it. A little bit, it kind of gets into this, but I actually also already have these bullet points written in my assignment sheet, so not helpful, not doing anything good, and I couldn't, right? It's not a rubric. It's not a rubric. We know this. So then, I asked it to at least make it as a table, and this absolutely cracked me up in so many ways. So my rubric that it gave me, okay, scope, audience, okay, 1 point, what, this, we can't grade off of this. What is this? And then I had things like the due date, right, is randomly in here. Graded criteria ends up in here. It's just so obvious. Then of course it says, hey, everything is worth 1 point for a total of 4 points. But, we have a lot of points in there. So that just didn't really make a lot of sense to me at all. Now, I did appreciate that when you open this new page, it does create an editable table, kind of building off of, it looks like the Microsoft Lists kind of app and features. I don't like that it's making these weird category tags in it, but at least I can or would be able to go through and add columns and edit, and that is definitely helpful. I'm doing a lot of work, faster for me just to build my rubric from scratch, but at least that is an option. So when it comes to the general CoPilot chat, definitely it works, it's great, it does all the things that every other model and application does. So switch if you want to switch, try it if your university already supports it, but it's not doing anything standing out to me that Gemini and GPT and just basically every other model that you might interact with in that language area could do. So that's kind of interesting. In terms of the agents, nope, will not use these. They can't be edited. They don't have enough functions in terms of building it, sharing it with students, how I see my students interacting with it. That's not helpful. That's not something that I would use. So absolutely, I give those a failing grade. Would not pass my class. Am not going to be using those. Now, there's a couple other kind of CoPilot things. This is, again, the CoPilot chat that my specifically university was saying we have access to, but we also actually have access to this completely different Microsoft Copilot Studio that builds a little bit better chat agents that I actually have used before. I built my very first. I called it Haley's Automated Liaison, using this old version that used to be called like PowerApps, and then they changed it to Copilot, and now I guess it's kind of this studio, but it's clearly being phased out. But this is where I actually built a more proper working bot as that's loading. So here is what Haley's Automated Liaison looked like. And basically, as students like went through, you can be like, "Hi, Hal," and it was able to answer questions about my course. So when it asked things like when technical descriptions are due, it already had the answer. Students didn't have to upload anything, right? And it could tell him, exactly with some of these other little prompts for how to find, right, specific information. Go to the People tab. All these start overs is when I was like testing to update it. When is this project due? And it, kind of had a lot more tips and help, right? So it could actually list out all of those. Now, the thing with Hal and this other Copilot Studio, obviously it's giving more of what I wanted my students to have access to compared to that terrible agent that we just looked at in the new version. But I had to write in every single one of these triggers and prompts, and every message that like we're scrolling through, I had to manually personally write in myself. So it didn't really have any of that like intelligent stuff to it. And the new kind of version, they are claiming it does. So there's like this intelligent authoring, but when I go there to the new Copilot Studio, which again, like seems great, could do a lot of stuff, it's not, at least what my university has given us access to. It just prompts me to basically like sign up for a free trial, even though I'm logging in with my university info. So I think that it's like a separate kind of tool, seems closer, could be a little bit more helpful, but definitely not kind of the same thing. It's still like, even when we look at its example, it's not made for education. It's not made for educators. It's the broadest possible kind of way to have a bot. And like now it's not even loading to show you the back end of what the kind of old Copilot's studio could look like. Okay, here we go. So what this version of Copilot Studio looks like and has is basically the list of topics. And so I have, simple topic, test topics, whatnot. And so when you go into here is where then I have to type in every single trigger phrase, type in every single message, type in every message, and then like end the topics. And if there's like branching things, I could do that. But it was just a lot of manual kind of labor for it to actually work. Which is just like not really that helpful. But it is very reliable, and the accuracy is there because literally you're typing it in. But that's different. That's not the same Copilot Studio that they're talking about. And so overall, I'd say the Copilot chat is good. Copilot Studio for actual educator-focused tasks, not good. I'm not that impressed. I will follow up with y'all, as I maybe learn more, and I'm going to keep testing it out, and I'll definitely be delivering tips and guides and tools. But before we leave, I just want to show you like why and exactly why we are building Teacher's Pet, because I got really tired, and I continue to be really tired of, these tools that should be helpful, but they aren't made by educators for educators, and so they actually aren't helping my workflow as much as I want. And so, for example, the Rubric Creator, as we saw, was a complete and utter disaster and nightmare. But with the Teacher's Pet app, we are open for pilot users and pilot testing. And so you can sign up for that at teacherspet.tech if you're interested in being a potential pilot tester for us. But when we go into the Pet app, some of the things that we're doing, because I want to genuinely have my course prep better and have my students have great stuff, is our file uploader in our document library. So we are able to save, all of these different files into your account. So you only have to, upload basically once. And then, you'll have access to everything that you need. So like we had tried to do that like progress report before, so I can upload that. So it's in my library. Right, and then it saves it right here. And then from the library, I actually have a lot of options. So I can go straight to my rubric generator and just select the progress report assignment that I'm working on, and now I need that rubric for. Hit generate, and it's going to go through and actually create a rubric based on the different skills and learning outcomes. We're training these and building these with ungrading practices in mind. And I know ungrading can be a little bit of like a scary term, but really for us, ungrading just means thinking more holistically, skills driven about your assessment. So that way you and your students know exactly what you're striving towards and can engage more in just the process of learning and practicing to do things, and not be quite so driven by like the exact products and outcomes. And again, key things. Every single line in the rubric is going to start with a verb. So that way we know we are following Quality Matters alignment for things like our learning outcomes. So Teacher's Pet is going to really focus in on learning outcomes, skills, start things with the verb, and then break it into a 3-column rubric category. So that way you can assess the, functional, the developing, and then the incomplete. Now, if you want to have a more advanced rubric, one of like the features we're building in is your ability to expand out your rubric if you need it, and then delete columns as well. So we can drop down to like a pass fail, which works really well for ungraded classes. So with that rubric, I wanted to make sure we're starting with good verbs, and we are. Did they craft a formal memo, right? We can all assess and know if they did that core skill or not. But then this one, include all necessary correspondence info, right? Maybe I actually don't want that, as much. Or, maybe I actually like some of this content of what I'm specifically looking for. I could delete it from here, right? Drop it into my earlier one, saves it, and then I could delete, right, this whole line. And so the biggest thing for me is the ability to edit. So that way, and edit every single thing on here. Developing, you don't like the word developing, you can make it something else that resonates with you and your students in your classes. Did they actually reflect? That's really what I'm looking for in the memo and the progress report, right? Did they provide a detailed action plan? If you wanted to, have it based on some specific format, you can, or else again, I can just delete that one that I don't want, and I can add a new row if there is something that it missed as we kind of go along. So that rubric builder solves all the issues that the new Microsoft CoPilot my university is trying to push on me is not helpful with at all. And then when I'm done, I have the option to do things like save it directly in the Canvas template format, which is the most important thing to me. My university uses Canvas. We would love to, and we will expand kind of the support for the different LMSs in our roadmap, but for now, we're focused on Canvas, or you can have a doc or just a regular CSV, which is usually what your LMS will need to upload as. And then this whole rubric can go straight into Canvas, and it actually is going to save me a lot of time, which is really, really great and helpful there. The other thing, right, as we saw, it does not do a really great job with agents and chats. And so that is a tool that we are going to be working on. And so it's not quite ready to launch yet, but we do have a class chatbot set up that, again, will basically use everything from your file uploader. Then your chatbot will already be able to pull from. So your students don't have to enter things, right? They'll already know, the chat will already know that you are pulling from this project and these, assignments and the syllabus to really help kind of students out with that. And so, like, for example, my current chat that I actually have running in my classes right now, built on the same idea and infrastructure, Pal will grow up into, right? And so I have at the beginning semester uploaded my syllabus, all my assignment sheets, project sheets, right? Everything. So that way, when my students go to just my like website link that goes in Canvas, they're able to ask it their questions, and it already has all of that context, and there isn't as much of that awkward like upload this back and forth. So a student could, then ask, as so many students do, right? Frequently asked questions. They like to just know when projects are due without necessarily having to go and read the assignment sheets. We know how that is. I just wanted to meet them where they're at, and it gives them, right, a nice, straightforward, direct answer. Here's when it's due. Here's when the portal closes. That is just a really helpful. And the last thing that it does here is actually give that reference info. That was an important thing that we had to build very specifically. I wanted to make sure that PAL would tell my students where the information came from the course material. So reminding them, hey, it's found in the usability report document, and you can look under, right, the header about due date. So that way they can kind of fact check themselves as well. So that's some of the stuff that we are working on. All right. Thanks, teachers. I hope that this was helpful. Again, just kind of quick instant reaction to the new Microsoft Copilot Studio that my university just released, like access through our login for. So I just wanted to test it out, see what it could do. And it's something that, I might switch from. Currently, I'm using Google Gemini most frequently to using the standard chat, because it does basically all the exact same things at a very similar level. And so that's completely fine. Like I can switch to that. But in terms of the actual helping me with my course prep kind of stuff, definitely mixed results. I think the agents have a long way to go, and they're missing a lot of features before it's really that helpful for me to integrate into my course prep, especially things like being able to upload the documents that it will remember, being able to edit them after I've completed something. But there's potential for sure. Sign up for the pilot if you would like access to Teacher's Pet, as we're trying to develop it to actually help with our course prep. And definitely, subscribe, follow along if you want more kind of tech reviews specific to teaching tools, EdTech, how we can improve and support, and what is actually helpful in our course prep. That is a lot of what this channel is about. And leave a comment with your experiences. What tools is your university promoting? What tools is your university maybe like, not banning, but you know what I mean? What are they actually discouraging? How have you used any tools? What's your favorite EdTech tool that we should talk about? And yeah, let's join our community and share our experiences. All right, I'm Haley at Teacher's Pet. This is my instant reaction to Copilot, and I hope you have a good class.